Okay, so let's go back to the verse. We've got this verse, he says, all are made to act helplessly by the qualities born of Prakriti. So Prakriti is translated as nature, and in fact it has different meanings according to the context. So here we can think of this word Prakriti or nature as referring to our vasanas. So we're familiar by now with this cycle of action. Vasana is like a seed that is unmanifest, it is dormant. That vasana first manifests as a thought, which further then becomes desire, which terminates as action. And as we execute an action, we lay down another seed for the same. So apple seed produces a sapling, a tree, the fruit. And the fruit contains the seed for more apples. So the mature form is inherent in the seed, apples from apples. The same thing is true for human vasanas. Vasanas are like the seed. As we express our nature through our vasanas, our actions are laying down more of the same. So you'll find some actions are good and virtuous, some are evil and vicious, some are mediocre or neutral. Some people like maths engineering, others like music and philosophy. The thoughts, the desires and the actions that we entertain are dictated by the vasanas. The quality of our thoughts, desires and actions are determined by the quality of our vasanas. Good vasanas leads to good thoughts, desires and actions. Bad vasanas to bad. Cricket vasanas leads to cricket thoughts, desires and actions. Ice hockey vasanas to ice hockey. So the idea that we want to get into now is to understand how we're going to measure, or what are we going to look at to try and understand the quality of the vasanas. And so this word guna translates as quality. So let's go back to the verse. He says, all are made to act helplessly by the qualities of nature. So what can we do to measure the qualities that we possess? So we're going to look at the 3 mental temperaments. There's an interesting phrase that he uses in one of the books. He calls them thought textures. It's a very interesting idea. We think of texture, of course, as being a tactile sensation. Imagine silk running through your hands, it has a certain texture. Imagine a bicycle chain running through your fingers. It also has a certain texture. But apply that idea to, say, your emotions. What's the feeling of the emotion, say, of vengeance? What's its texture? How does it feel as it passes through your mind? What about the emotion and the awareness of forgiveness? What does that feel like as it passes through your mind? The thoughts, the emotions that we entertain, they also can be said to have a texture. So the mental temperaments in Sanskrit are tamas, rajas and sattva. So we'll stay with these Sanskrit terms, and the tamas is the lowest of the mental temperaments, or the thought textures. Rajas is the next highest, and sattva is the highest or finest quality of human thought. And we are always an admixture of all 3. The question is, how does each of them function? How does each of these gunas express? And so we consider tamas to be inactive, rajas to be active, and sattva to be transactive. So we'll explain more what we mean as we go through. But you can see how it's referring to the movement of something. We think of activity generally at the level of the body. He's very inactive. Okay, we think of someone who doesn't move very much. That guy's very active. He's always going for runs or jogs or bike rides, or he's constantly working on such and such. Transactive is an interesting idea. The word trans, just think for a second, what does trans refer to? Transnational? Where else do we see this word trans? What does it mean? As a prefix, we can think of the word trans as meaning beyond or outside. Transcendental is that which lies outside the world. So transactive is that which is beyond activity. When you look at these different expressions of the three gunas, you start to see common themes. Once you can get an intuitive sense of tamas, rajas and sattva, you have a very powerful tool for analyzing yourself and others. Is this person tamasic, rajasic or sattvic? In fact, we are all an admixture of all three, but one may predominate. What does all this mean? Okay, so let's look at a table. As I say, if you have any questions, feel free to jump in.